All right, everyone, welcome back to another champion breakdown. Today we will be taking a look at Captain Britain. As you can tell, or as you can see, I have her on the live server. So I've gotten a lot of practice with her, a lot of time with her, and as you can see, I took her to rank 3. Um, First thing I want to talk about is I'm working backwards in champion gameplay videos with the coming featured crystal. So I did one for Omega Sentinel, and that just happened to work out to when I joined the CCP. She was the next one in line. So now I'm going to do Captain Britain, and then we're going to take a look at Sauron, Toad, Misty Knight, Captain Falcon, or Captain America, and Craven. But Craven I've already done a video on, so the video for him will just be with the dupe ability to kind of see if that helps with his damage at all. Also, apologize for no off-season wars. The first war of the off season, I was focused very heavily on 7.4 exploration, and the last war, they didn't place much of a defense, so there wasn't much to show. But expect an off season war for Monday. Now, Captain Britain, there are a lot of things I like about her, but I can definitely see her being a frustrating champion for many, and not falling under many players' favorite champ list. She did happen to fall under mine, and we'll talk about a few of her abilities in the fight coming up. But if you want a full breakdown on how to play her and her abilities, I strongly recommend looking up BMcG from For Loki, as he did about a 30-minute breakdown of Captain Britain, and it's a very good video. So if you want to check it out outside of just reading her abilities, go ahead and check out his. What I'm really going to focus on is just some gameplay with some poor gameplay and some good gameplay, and then maybe some things that don't necessarily stand out to you on paper, where she would be practical in certain situations, and how easy it could be to ramp her up. Okay, so let's use this next clip to kind of go over her abilities. First off, I'm going to play this fight poorly. I'm only focused on special 2 attacks, so there's no specific rotation in this video. So what you're probably noticing, or if you read her abilities, her basic attacks are not supposed to have any crit rating. So it's 0 crit rating for her basic attacks. Obviously, you're going to see crit attacks here, and it's because of crit masteries from the attack tree. What you should notice as well is that she's not placing any debuffs with her basic attacks at the moment. Now, we threw special 2 attack, so now there's a red number. And now you're going to notice with her basic attacks, once we get this special 2 out of the way from Winter Soldier, what you're going to notice from her basic attacks is that she's going to start placing debuffs. So first light attack is an exhaustion, and the second medium attack is a slow. Those are the only 2 debuffs she places through her combo, but if you decide to throw a heavy attack, she will also place a weakness with her heavy attack. This is because she's in psionic mode. So the red number and those debuffs are from entering psionic mode. And what you technically want to do, or where she benefits, is you want to get these debuffs placed and then exit psionic mode with a special attack. And that'll give you 2 prowess, and then depending on the debuffs you had placed, it'll give you buffs. So a slow gives you unstoppable, and an exhaustion gives you a cruelty. If you had a weakness placed, whether from resonate or from the heavy attack, then it would also give you a fury. Now the buffs are not that big of a deal. They are a small increase or a small benefit outside of the unstoppable. The unstoppable actually kind of gives you some creative play. It's more important that she's building that prowess. So the prowess increases her special attack damage by 10%, but it also increases her defensive ability accuracy by 10% as well. Back to the red number. The red number is back up because we're in Sonic mode. The red number only scales on base attack only. So you won't see that increase with any boosts or anything like that. You will only see it increase with ranking her and leveling her. So it's not, again, just like the buffs, it's not something that's game breaking. It's just something that adds to her damage, which is kind of nice considering the fact that her basic attacks have a low crit rating. So you're getting a nice 1500 benefit per hit with your basic attacks. But basically, what you're starting to see, or what maybe you're putting together, with reading her abilities and seeing this, is that there might be some rotations where you can build prowess faster, or some rotations where you can build prowess and maintain the slow debuff or the exhaustion debuff, depending on what you're fighting. I mean, all three, I believe, prevent Tiger from going unblockable on her special attacks. But the exhaustion helps with fights like Sasquatch, and the slow helps with fights like Doom. So just something to think about, that she has easy access technically once you get a special attack launched with her psionic mode. So this is the gist of it. Nothing really else to report. The too long didn't read short of it is that you basically want to either give the champion debuffs and shrug them for them, especially if it's a champion like Winter Soldier who doesn't do it, or you're going to ramp up even faster against someone like Mole Man or Kingpin who do shrug debuffs. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at how I would play her in a scenario where we don't have a champion that shrugs debuffs. So I found that the rotation that I prefer was to build to special 2, go to special 1, making sure that we have 2 or 3 debuffs placed from her abilities, and then throw special 1 to shrug them. And the reason I enjoyed that rotation more is just so that I had that red burst of energy during the special 2 attack instead of during the special 1 attack, since it's going to be a constant enter psionic mode and exit psionic mode. So here we're at SB1. I went ahead and threw the heavy, so we had 3, and then I made Captain Marvel shrug them, so now we're at 3 prowess, and then we have all 3 buffs here, the Fury, the Cruelty, and we had the Unstoppable. And then you can use the Unstoppable to counter punch. And keep that in mind, with an Unstoppable you can easily intercept and retaliate for easy openings against the AI. And that kind of plays into her SIG ability, which we'll talk about later. So now we threw the special 2, we're going to go back into the special 1. Again, this is how I would play her in a basic fight. In my opinion, there are many rotations with her special attacks based on your needs as to how you would play her to ramp her up on the prowess side. So yeah, this is about it. I make sure to heavy cancel into special 1 when I have special 1 ready, and then what you notice here is that special 2 just hits really hard. There's a lot of red or big yellow numbers, and it only builds up. So there are a lot of fights that I've taken with her where I can't even get to the 25 cap when the champion doesn't shrug debuffs on their own. So this is kind of fun to me. May not be for everybody. Definitely feels like a long fight for most, so it's nothing game breaking, but she is unique, and I think that's kind of why she falls into the category for me of champions I liked. Plus I had an 8th mutant slot open for rank 3, so I went ahead and took her up after playing her a bunch. But I did use her in 7.4 specifically for nodes that had a shrug ability. And champions that had shrug abilities. So she might be a questing pair or even a war pair where you have 1 or 2 fights on a path that your team doesn't cover, and you just need her to take it because of who it is. So this is about it. The next video that we're going to take a look at is actually to check the utility of her slow, to see if it's possible to keep it up most of the fight, or at least manage it when you need it. Since you cannot stack the slow and you have to wait for it to expire before you can place another. So yeah, that was the end of that fight. Alright, so this next fight is where we're going to test the utility of that slow. So a couple things to keep in mind are that when we shrug the slow, when we cause the defender to shrug the slow, we get an unstoppable buff. If the champion's abilities cause that slow to shrug, we still gain the unstoppable buff. So if you're thinking about things like Mighty Charge or Ebb and Flow Intercept, where when the protection comes back, the slow gets shrugged, then that creates your easy opening to counterpunch, just like with Killmonger or anyone else with an unstoppable buff, to intercept. So first thing you saw here, I got to the special 1 and threw it immediately, and then placed the slow, and I block baited heavies to prevent him from throwing special attacks so I could get the slow debuff on. And then before throwing my special 3 here, I made sure to have the 2 debuffs on, not the weakness, just the 2, so that when she exits psionic mode here, and regardless of her being in it or not, she technically exits with SB3, with special 3, we gain the 3 prowess buffs. But what you're going to notice is we gained an energize buff now as well, so we can quickly get back to special 1 and shrug the debuffs we placed from special 3 and build prowess. So earlier I was saying how there are different rotations you can play with her, and they're kind of endless. In my opinion, if you have a champion you're trying to slow and avoid unstoppable with, you're probably going to go quickly to a special 1, go into special 3, and then repeat that cycle constantly until the champion is down. So what you're going to see here throughout the fight is that I'm being mindful of when my slow debuff is about to expire, and then I'm block baiting a heavy to get the slow debuff placed again with my next combo. And then just because I want to build prowess in this fight without him being a shrug champion, I'm making sure that I have 2 of those debuffs placed. I could make sure I have 3, so that I can build some prowess. So this here, you're going to see all the way to the end that I keep slow up pretty much the entire time during the fight. That there's not a window that I allow him to go unstoppable without a slow debuff, and then outside of that window I have the slow debuff placed. So yeah, this is a practical way to play her. It is a longer ramp up, but again, this is a large health pool, and this is without boosts. So some of our special 2 damage, or special 3 and special 1 damage, can be increased a lot with some boosts. So in a war scenario, there might be some fights where you could counter slow using her. It's not going to be a situation where she clears an entire lane or 2 lanes. It's like I said in the earlier clip, there might be 1 or 2 fights and an officer assigns you that path and just says bring someone for X, and you decide, hey, I know I have Betsy and I know how to play Betsy, let me go ahead and use her. And I did not mean to push him to special 3 here. I got a little too into the rotation and was not paying attention to his special attacks. So that's another reason I used Juggernaut for this video. I wanted a potato AI that was kind of resisting me every step of the way, to see if it was easy and not actually frustrating to keep the slow up. So, but you can see there's a lot of blocking. I use a lot of counter punch, especially block baiting a heavy, and her SIG ability increases block proficiency. I believe it's every time she gets a debuff shrugged. Yes, so whenever a debuff is purified, either from her ability or from the champion, then she's going to gain a bulwark passive, and at awakened it's 400 block proficiency for 20 seconds with a max stack of 6. So I can definitely see in maybe some Evers content, or even in situations like this, where that block proficiency and the physical resistance from psionic mode will actually help you take a lot of blocked hits and actually rely on parry heavy to work that weakness into the rotation. But thought it would be cool to kind of showcase the slow. And here's that SIG ability, as I said, about 400, but you see at max SIG you can bump it up to 700 per bulwark passive. So it is a passive, and it lasts for 20 seconds, for a pretty long time. And the last thing I want to leave you with is just the creativity, where you have to actually think about every fight you take her to, and how she'd benefit. Here is, I mean, it's just call on Mighty Charge in the Mutant Quest of Event Quest. So she's going to gain some Furies from her special attack right there. But what you're going to notice is that I'm going to use the Mighty Charge as the shrug. And anytime he's shrugging that slow, I get this unstoppable. So if you're thinking the paired path or node of Ebb and Flow Intercept and Mighty Charge in war, then you've got a perfect scenario where they shrug her debuffs, she gets ramped up, but she also automatically gains a counter to Ebb and Flow Intercept and is able to remove that protection and gain that Fury. And then as she's being ramped, see, we're already at 10 prowess and 30 hits, and look at those numbers. So granted, she has a Fury, so could be boosted numbers. She can end fights quickly given the appropriate scenario. So that's about it. As I said, she's probably not a champ for everyone, but it's someone that I have learned to enjoy and can definitely work into my fights when questing and whatnot. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Go ahead and check out BMcGs Captain Britain video if you want any more details than what I gave you, especially fights against Shrug champions. But hope you guys enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, share, and I will catch you guys at the next one.